Hello, everyone. I once took down a Tensai slime blazer, and now, I'm back to do it again. This time, I'm dismantling his baseless claims piece by piece. No headcanon, no wank, just straight facts. Let's get into it.
So funniest thing, guys, that nigga make one other video on me. Like really, a ad scaler who don't know what is scaling, what is dimensionality, and just making a video on me with no logic. But still, let's see his debunk again. Okay. I will ignore his entire this debunk because first of all, the thing you said, I will take a subspace only in this. So first of all, subspace, this nigga debated with me and accepted that this is beyond dimensionality, and I give him argument. It literally a logical argument to those who think that in my words there is no logic. So let me show you. So first I go with a hard topic, hard explanation, like all higher debater use. But this nigga can't even understand it. That makes this nigga already a low tier debater. But I understand he's a state that he's low tier. That's why I explain him that my point, and yeah, I give him his notion. So this nigga can't even understand that. I gave him his my argument, and yeah, instead of adding some knowledge, this nigga said that accept that there is no spatial axis and no space and time. Okay, I agree. Okay, so that's my point, bro. Literally. So he said that it is zero dimensional. Okay, it's zero dimensional, but how the vega able to exist then if it is a zero dimensional? 3D being can't exist in a 0D. We know that this is a normal physics and normal dimensionality that a higher dimension being can't exist in a lower dimension. This nigga, okay, I will explain entire dimensionally here. Okay, so just here, okay, okay, so dimensionality is a word which includes all higher and lower dimension. So whenever we talk about the dimensionality, so we include higher and lower dimension. So this is the first point. And at the second, when there is a simple thing that there is 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, like, okay, but Vega, which is at least 5D, if you check any power scale and everything, okay, Vega is higher than 5-dimensional even, but I don't care about, because this nigga has no knowledge about then, so we're trying to debunk. Okay, so when, but a higher dimensional thing, higher dimension, can't exist in a lower dimension. Like, it is a 3D, but you said that it is a 0D, but a 3D being can't exist in a 0D is normal physics because 0D is can't even perceived by 3D. Okay, simple. Because 0D, like, 0D had no axis and no temporal axis and etc. But a higher dimensional thing can't exist in here. So it is beyond dimension, bro. It is easy, like, okay, like, and this nigga said that it is a higher dimension. So I have, okay. So first of all higher dimension has their own space and time. Easy. It's easiest thing that everyone know. Space and time is the essential property of a dimension that every dimension hold. But in this concept, in this in this knowledge, he lacked the dimensionality, had no knowledge about dimensionality. This nigga literally come and debated me and lose badly. Really, had no knowledge. And yeah, he said, even in his video, his comment section, he said the judge is irrelevant. So what kind of judge you want? I can really, or what kind of judge you want? There is lot of people, but all people know, but we do have no knowledge about debating. You have no knowledge about dimensionality, really. Okay, so that is his point. Now, spiritualism, etc. I don't wanna explain him because he has no knowledge about anything, really, as Keller. Now, that's my point. He lose the entire debate and had no knowledge. He accepted that it is beyond dimensionality, but again trying to backtrack over and over, and yeah, he lose badly.
Oh, so he didn't even try to track it. Let's break this down properly. Something that lacks space-time, or exists where space-time is entirely absent, is, by definition, zero-dimensional. That much is clear, but here's the issue, entering a realm where space-time has vanished. That's not something you can just handwave with real-world logic. It's fiction. It's narrative convenience. It only works within the story's own rules, not as some universal scaling metric. Applying real-world physics to a fictional setting to wank a character's feats. That's not analysis. That's a foolish path to take, and it completely falls apart under any serious scrutiny. Anyway, using irreversible statements as a basis for scaling. That's not acceptable. That's bordering on logical fallacy, if not straight-up non sequitur. Let's make this simple. A higher dimensional being can move anywhere, including lower dimensional space. A 3D entity can traverse 2D coordinates in ways a 2D being can't even perceive, instantaneous movement beyond any concept of speed. But a 3D being cannot exist in 0D. If it somehow does, the narrative is breaking physics entirely, or that so-called subspace is actually either higher dimensional or non-dimensional space. Now look at the wiki tiering. Low outerversal characters exist beyond all possible dimensions. And that word, possible, covers every potential framework, mathematics, physics, Hilbert space, you name it. So here's the bottom line. All structures in tensai slime are missing the point. Subspace has explicit superiority over the dimensions present in that verse. But your tiny, shifting mind can't grasp that. Plain and simple. Now, about the debate itself, my stance was clear. Present feats that actually prove outerversal qualification. That's the baseline, but he never did. Instead, he kept circling the same points, relying on presumption and lack of concessions rather than substance. And here's the real joke. He brought in another person as a judge, without even telling me, let alone asking for my consent or checking with the previous judge. That's not just bad etiquette, that's a textbook fallacy of inappropriate authority. The whole thing was stacked from the start. Unfair, underhanded, and honestly pathetic. So now, that clown anime Pitania keeps recycling the same outdated, fraudulent scaling methods, like clockwork. All he could muster was the subspace argument. Oh, it lacks space-time. Cool, but let's actually break that down properly. A zero-dimensional space is a dot, a single point of origin. From that dot, lines form, directions emerge, and eventually, you get 3D space. You know what that means. 0D exists everywhere, not physically, but as an abstract mathematical structure. A single ink drop on paper. That's a 0D reference. A point of beginning. It exists inside and outside dimensionality at the same time. So when someone says they can't perceive space-time in subspace, that doesn't mean subspace is just 0D. It means their own 3D space-time laws don't apply there. A lower dimensional being, like a 3D entity, cannot perceive an axis that isn't identical to its own framework. That's basic dimensionality. Subspace isn't just a void. It's a higher axis because it transcends the very limitations of physics and time itself. This isn't hard to understand. Unless, of course, you're anime Pitania. At the end of the day, tensai slime blazers can't even define what a dimension actually is, let alone scale it properly. They lack the fundamental knowledge, and it shows every single time. That's all I've got for now. If you enjoyed the breakdown, drop a like and subscribe. I'll catch you all on the next topic.